Hi guys, so now that we have seen what we are going to create, which is this application, let's quickly get started with our own application. So this is my math app that I have, and that was just the demo that I gave you. So let's go and start our application. Now this is the app that we created from scratch, and we have nothing inbuilt it. So it should be the default app plus the plugins, which means only the React look in the field should be changed. So now that's your basic app. That's our code and that's our console. So everything, ground zero, empty slate, and we start with our scaffolded project from React. So the first thing that we are going to do is let's quickly create a folder structure here. So let's create a new folder and let's call it as components. That way we can create any component that we want. Components. Okay. So the new folder of components is created. Let's quickly create a new file called numbers.js. Let's say number.js. Let's save that file. Let's create a component for React. It is very straightforward. I know many of you might already know how a component is created, but I will still go a little in detail so that anyone who doesn't know how React components work or how to create them, they can get a fair idea. So it's okay if you can fast forward it, but I still need to go through this. So import, you can do a React, comma, component from React. So that's the import that we have. Now what happens is you're going to use React from your React module that is imported into your project, as well as the component. Now let's try to use that. So let's say class, let's call it number, extends component, and then the class starts. Now in this class we do not directly put a return statement. You need to have a function, and the function that renders everything onto the screen is called as a render function. Now inside the render function there is always a return statement. That is the one that will actually return the HTML that you intend to return onto the screen. So let's say out here I want to just give a number, or rather I should say h1. This is the number component. Okay, let's close the h1. Now everything should be fine. Let's just export a default. So export default number. You can do this, or there is another way of exporting a file. Let's comment this out, and you can just put the export default out here itself. Okay, so there are two ways of doing it. Let's save this file. Let's go back to our app.js. Let's import our number file, which is number, and again the number file is in the component folder. So you need to make sure that you give components/number, and then that should get you the number. Now import number as number from, rather import number from this. Now let's try to put this number in your body. So let's say number, and it has to be self-closing. Let's see what happens onto the console, and this is the number component displays onto the screen. So that was your first React component, very bare bones component. There's nothing in it. All you have done is create a JS file, put some HTML in it, or rather JSX code in it, and once you have done that, you've imported in your parent app.js and used that component. So that's how you can create a component and use a component. Now let's quickly try to remove everything that we need and modify the numbers component to have our app displayed the way we want it to display. So let's quickly go back to the code. Let's go to our number class, and that's where the actual meat is. Let's quickly import first of all a button, because that's what we're going to use, and this button will come from your React bootstrap. So that should give you your button class. I think you need to put a bracket around it, because it's not directly exported. It's not the default. It's one of the exported items. So you need button from there. Let's quickly put in our div. Let's put the class name. And again, I'm just using the class in a React, and that class comes from the React bootstrap. So let's just give it a row. So let's say I will give the column offset of column small offset of 5. So that should be the class name for the div. Let's end the div. Again, this will not work unless it is the only div present. So in that case, we need to make sure that everything is enclosed in a parent div. So let's add a parent div here, because when you return something from a component, it has to return only one HTML, and then there can be children for that particular HTML tag. Like just like in this scenario, this div tag will have like many kids or children, as we say. So now you have the offset. Let's display the number here. Let's say we put a p tag, a 0, and close the p tag. Let's save this and see what happens onto the screen. Okay, it refreshes and I can see my 0 out here. Okay, that's fantastic. Now let's quickly go to app.js and clean up everything, because we do not need anything except for the number. So let's just remove everything and let's just return number. Okay, let's save the file. So everything should go away. The only thing you should see is this number component and this 0. Now we do not need the number component also. It was just to showcase where it is. Let's save it, and all you should see on the screen is a 0. Now let's quickly add the buttons that we imported from React Bootstrap. So let's just the way we created a row out here using Bootstrap, let's create another row. So let's say div class name is equals to another row. Let's give a column offset of 4 this time, because we need to have 2 buttons. And let's quickly put this div to bed. Now let's put the button tag. And in the button tag, you can also give a bootstrap class. So you can do something like bs style is equals to, just give the style of the button you want. We are going to give it primary. Now here, when the button is here, you can also display increment, and then you can close the button. Let's save it and let's see what happens onto the screen, and you can start seeing the increment. Of course, when you click, nothing should happen yet, but you have your bare bones numbers.js class or a component that displays the number and an increment button. Now we need to put everything that we need from the Redux perspective into our app, so that a store is created, as well as the status is tracked and everything knows where to go. Okay, so that's about it for this lecture. And if you have any questions around this lecture, let me know in the Q&A section or in the comments below, and I'll be super happy to help you. I'll see you in the next class.